Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome back to a brand new show and hopefully a brand new series, away day guides, Talking Town's away day guides. Today, obviously, it's Accrington Stanley. It's first up. I'm joined by the lovely Queen of Hearts, Amy Downs, who will be going this weekend. Amy, you must be so delighted to be going after the back of a 6-0 win.
Oh, absolutely. Really looking forward to it. I don't have the best record at Accrington, so there's always, as there is for every Ipswich fan, I'm sure, there's always that little bit of dread that I'm going to see a terrible performance again, as we normally do. But it's my first game in actually, I think by Saturday it might be 20 months. So it's pretty big deal for me, pretty big deal. I probably should have waited for Cambridge for my wallet's sake, but I decided, nope, I'm going to do 2 this month because I can't wait that long.
And you deserve it, you really do. And hopefully, you're going to be joining the the pre-game and post-game show on Saturday with Vicky, who's going with you. Hopefully, try and grab a few other town fans, maybe if you're Accrington Stanley fans, so that'd be exciting. But you've mentioned that the recent visits to Accrington, and I've said at the top of the show, this is a new show, a new series where we're going to hopefully look back at previous games, where to drink, where to park, all the sort of things you want to expect from an away day guide. But I think it's important to say that for the guys and girls that are watching this, if you've got any suggestions, throw them our way, throw them in the comment section. We're open to obviously new ideas, new suggestion, ways of doing it, ways of not doing it. And I think you want to sort of ask for stories and tidbits, don't you?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm even just getting ready for tonight for us chatting. I've got lots of stories just from the two visits that I've had to there, being a fairly seasoned Northern away fan. So I know that lots of people will have the same thing: happy memories, frustrated memories, which is basically the Wham Stadium summed up in one for us, I think. But
Wow,
yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to share it. And I put out a post on the Facebook forum and on Twitter just asking if people had any thoughts about Accrington, and we've had a couple of recommendations for pubs that I wasn't aware of and things like that. So we'll mention those later. So it really does add to it that we can get, I know where I go drinking before the game, but I don't know what everybody else thinks. So
yeah, absolutely, and it's important to be together. As an away army, as we call ourselves, with a blue and white army. So it's important to be together. It's important to know as well that we do aim to try and do these shows live where we can. So on a Wednesday night, we'll be live at normal time of 8:30, Talking Town time. But where Town have played on a Tuesday or some weeks because of childcare, both parents, obviously, etc., it'll be recorded. But we do want to get your suggestions and your stories in. But you mentioned the previous visits. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Amy. Accrington Stanley is not a team I ever had to think about unless I was playing a computer game and I wanted a challenge, or it was the advert. Accrington Stanley, who are they? Exactly. But recently, sadly, because we've declined, we've had to think about them a little bit more than I've wanted to, and it's not been pleasant. Talk me through our recent visits. Remind me, because your brain blocks out on unhappy memories.
And there is a lot of them with Accrington, unfortunately. So we have been there 3 times. The first visit ever was when we played them in the FA Cup in 2019.
I remember that.
That was during the Paul Lambert relegation season.
Yep.
Not very happy not a very happy fan group that day. But I remember feeling like we were all very much as one, as the players were getting booed off the pitch for being absolutely dire, which they were.
Yeah.
I was really like emotional and actually hormonal, as it turned out. But I was just really emotional hearing. I later found out that I was pregnant on that day, but I was really emotional on that day to just see how far our club had declined, and the thought that we'd just lost to a club that we were probably going to be playing by the end of next year, basically. So that first visit was not really bothered about the FA Cup itself, but it was very much about where is our club going, and do we really have to come back here for a league game next year? And of course we did have to.
We did, and if I remember, it might be that my memory is a bit skewed, but the pitch that day was awful, wasn't it? If I remember rightly, and that was blamed in large part for how poorly we played. But you've made some notes, thankfully. Jackson and Judge were, Jackson up front on his own with Judge behind.
I think it was quite wet that day as well, if I remember right. We'll talk about it again, I'm sure, but the open air terrace was freezing that day.
Yes.
That was later that year. That was October 2019. So it was cold, it was wet, and it was miserable again. But yes, we'd just come back from an international break, and as was standard Lambert, he was making big changes, as he always did. And I checked out my blog from back after that game, and it's sort of said that it was kind of forced changes, and he'd had to drop Norse, KBY, Downs and Wilson. And I was reading that earlier thinking, well, that didn't change, did it? 2 years later almost, and we were still having to worry, well, we are still having to worry about Norse and KBY being fit. So that was, there was lots of changes to the team beforehand, which I think affected it. And obviously
that was the second visit, wasn't it? That one, because
it was, yeah.
Obviously that was after relegation. And you're right, we still are contending with keeping those players fit. They can't get a looking now, so that's how much it's changed in that time. I mean, the football club's had so much transition in such a quick amount of time. But even reading this first visit back, where we lost 1-0 with Billy Keith scoring the 76th minute, Lambert's called it, this club's in a bad patch, not a bed of roses, and I won't put up with it, and we'll make changes in the window. I need half a dozen players. Even then, we're talking about transition.
Yeah.
But that's the FA Cup, and we're not good in the cup. So the following years have not been any more successful. You touched on it a little bit there with Norwood and KVY. How have we fared since we've been in the same division as them?
It was no better. I remember thinking at the time that you could see that the improvement was there. So those green shoots that Marcus Evans liked talking about, there definitely was a development in those 9 months between January and October. But for me, it just wasn't. It was still dire. I pulled a quote out saying that I'd forgotten Dazelle was playing, and it was just a really scrappy game. And I think that's that at the time. Accrington, I think, have come to give us better games at Portman Road since then, but at the time that was what Accrington were. They were just very they didn't let us play, and Dazelle actually really struggled with that because he doesn't do well if he hasn't got space, in my opinion. So with him, he was clearly one that stood out to me that day, but in a bad way. The result that day was 2-0. The first goal was one that should have been cleared by a couple of players. I think it was Garbett and I want to say Edwards, who just basically let the player go past them. And we as away fans had it right in front of us as well. It was just to really rub it in that we shouldn't have conceded that one. And then the second was a penalty from Enciala, which I think perhaps we were slightly biased, but we felt that was a bit harsh on him at the time. And I do remember lots of conversations saying that if we weren't the big team in the league, then we might not have been punished quite so harshly with that penalty. I think we've learned our lesson to stop thinking we're the big club nowadays.
Well, yeah, I suppose
maybe not.
Maybe not. That game was on Sky, was it not? If my memory serves me rightly, and it was a Sunday. Because I distinctly remember I went to meet the owner of a pub afterwards because we were in the process of setting up our first special with Ian Marshall at the time. So I remember sitting watching that and then having to go out on the back of it and feeling just sick. Midweek we'd played Rotherham and got beat. And this was really the start of the end, if you like, the beginning of the end for Paul Lambert, wasn't it? Because his team got found out midweek, then it got found out again. And you're right. I think you said bullied, and we got bullied and sort of outplayed, outmuscled, outthought. And from that point on, it was that, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a bit of a welcome to the standard of this league game. Wasn't it? Was like, okay, this is we're going to have to actually adapt really quickly to this, and obviously we didn't. And it was just showing actually what level we'd sunk to. But I suppose it's like the year we went up in the Premier League, we gave them a shot because we were a bit more scrappy than everybody else in that league, weren't we? So
well, we could mix it, couldn't we? We could scrap it, but we could also play a little bit. I mean, scrappers, Venus obviously great servant for the football club, but scrapper, Herman Ryderson could do a bit of both. Yeah, you're right. But at this point, we'd been riding high, haven't we? We'd been HMS pissed the league. It'd been going well, and then Rotherham and Accrington Stanley just come along, 2 icebergs, and he didn't recover, did we? Because we know where it ended up for Lambert. But the following visit, he wasn't even with us.
He'd just gone, I think, hadn't he? Well, he when I was checking it earlier, it was that day. I think it might have been an evening match, but it was that game where Cook was in the stands, so he hadn't quite taken over, and for that one we won. So I think for that we were maybe feeling like things had started to turn around. We were all right to get rid of Lambert. What was Martin banging on about for so long?
Well, all right.
But that was a very busy first half, if I remember right, and a terrible, just nothing second half. I made a note of.
How do they score?
That was all right. This is where he claws it back. That was Holy dropping the ball, wasn't it?
Some things don't change.
Exactly. And then it was. I don't know how to say his name. It looked like it was a spelling error, but it seems to be spelt like that everywhere. Is it Keneally?
I'm going to say Connolly.
Connolly. Well, that's what I would have thought. It didn't seem to be spelt right, but he fouled Parrott, and then Norwood had a penalty which got saved, but Norwood then scored a header later on. Norwood scored from a free kick, and Wilson scored a header. Both set pieces from Dazelle. I know.
Didn't know they existed.
Exactly. I thought you'd like that one.
We've had some unexpected events this afternoon, haven't we? Look at that. Look. We've had some expected ones, Hayes dropping footballs, an unexpected one, Dazelle putting balls into the box that we score from. I'm sure they happen. They must have happened at some point, and you've just nailed it there. They have happened. It did happen. Now, obviously, hopefully, in future weeks, we'll have people with us from the other side. The home fans in this instance to join us and share some stories and relive some of those away days. But is it fair to say Accrington Stanley for you is a ground that you always look at the fixture list when it comes out to say that's what I want to go to, because it's not necessarily a good time for town fans, but it's a good time to be a town fan in the terrace?
Yes, absolutely. I love being on the terrace. Whatever ground we get to go to, I think it's a little bit special, isn't it? But that one it's cold, it is windy, if I remember right. Maybe we just had bad weather, and when it's wet, which it is 98% chance of rain this weekend, so that is going to be lots of fun. Pretty much everybody that replied to me on Twitter was like, take a raincoat, take a big coat, you're going to need to layer up this weekend. So it is going to be wet, but from one of the nicest things that I'm looking forward to about this weekend is that there are lots of Talking Town people going, and lots of fellow Northern Ipswich fans as well. So really looking forward to that. But I enjoyed being on the terrace last time, just being able to move around, chat with different people. I felt the atmosphere was really good, even though we lost and it wasn't a great performance. It never has been when I've been there. And actually, somebody reminded me earlier, their pies there are really good as well. So definitely worth nipping off at half time to go and give one a try.
Of course, they're going to be all right. I mean, they're going to be, the further up the country you go, the better the pie should be, is what I've been told by somebody. But I'm just looking at the weather forecast. Yeah, it's heavy rain and a moderate breeze. So not only are you going to get wet, you're going to get wet and then chilled to the bone.
The wind blown into our faces.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll make for a lovely game of football as well.
Although, for those that are supping, you're going to be all right, because between the hours of 9 and 1, you're not doing too bad. It's from the hours of 2 onwards. So make sure you've got plenty of liquid fluids.
Beer jacket.
Absolutely. And then you will not feel it. But it has had some improvements, to be fair to it, the Wham Stadium. They've done some work to one of the stands, taking it down, then put a new one in its place, which the away fans will be going into. So I don't know how that affects things, Amy, in terms of getting wet, getting dry, whatever. But saying warm. But yeah, the away fans where they were sectioned was taken down in the summer, and a new stand was put in its place. And by all accounts, if you look at Andy Holt's sort of Twitter feed as it was going on, it looks. I think it's finished. It looks really good. So maybe that will be a new stand.
Exactly.
Not as wet. New luck. Who knows? But 98% chance of rain.
It's going to be wet either way. It's either going to be. Look, do you know what? It rained on my wedding day, and I still had a lot of fun dancing in it. So it won't stop us if we're winning. We'll still celebrate.
You're somebody I can definitely see dancing in the rain. But last night it rained goals and we danced hopefully Saturday will be the same thing. It may piss it down, but we'll dance because the goals are flying in.
I like it. I like that.
Yeah, I know. But we did mention the old liquid stuff, the beer jacket.
My favourite part.
Yeah, this is the bit you've got the most amount of notes on. I'm going to be truthful to the people at home. You guys also had some new recommendations. Tell the good people at home if they're going up there, how and where do they find their liquid nourishment?
Fab. So the last couple of times I've been given a lift. So I've gone by car, and there is a car park at the ground, but you'd have to get there pretty early to get in there because it's tiny. So I would recommend just street parking around it. If I remember right, Anthony Steele, who is one of your Hall of Famers,
He certainly is.
I vaguely remember him having to park on a corner one time on a residential street, which was great fun for us, not for him, bless him. But there is lots of parking around, so quite easy to get there reasonably early, dump your car, go and have a couple of pints beforehand. If you're doing that, would definitely recommend the Crown. That seems to be where most fans have gone the last couple of times we've been there. You can literally see the ground from the pub. It's that close. You just go down some steps and you're in the ground. I believe there is a fan zone at the club, but I couldn't find anything online to confirm that before we chatted. There was last time we went, but whether that's changed with all the changes to the ground, I'm not sure. But personally preferred the Crown. They've got a nice outside seating area, although I doubt I'll be using that one on Saturday. And there is a pub just a little bit way down the road. So if, like me, on Saturday, you're going to be walking from the train station, there's a place called the Grey Horse, which is on the way. And Ian on Facebook told me that there's a sign outside that saying, "We welcome all away fans, even Leeds fans." So they're a winner for me straight away. I shall be popping in purely for that. But yeah, so when I went with my friends last time, we went and watched a game in there before. We went and watched the midday kickoff in there beforehand, and that was good. But the Crown showed the game as well, so lots of options. And then Colin on Twitter suggested also the cricket club. So that's like behind the ground. Can't recommend it from experience, but it looked like it might be a really good option if you're driving, because you'll probably be parking near it. And maybe if you want to avoid like the Crown, because that'll probably be busy. If you want to try and find somewhere quieter, that might be a good option.
Now, what Stanley have done historically in the past is it run a deal. We don't know if that's still going on, but obviously do tell the people at home what that deal is. It's a bit of a double whammy. You feel sad, then you feel good, then you feel sad again. But you know, what is it?
So when you're really peed off at Accrington Stanley because they've beaten you again, go and take advantage of their club bar, because everybody gets their first pint for free. So I think it was after the FA Cup game, we went and drank in the club bar, and we had loads of Accrington fans coming over and chatting to us about the good old days of Sir Bobby and Sir Ralph, and it was really lovely. And we actually got to meet Andy Holt as well. He came over and introduced himself to us, which I thought was really good, you know, and a really sign of actually what I've come to know of him since then. He's one of the good ones, I think. So that it was just a really nice place to be for an hour afterwards, and obviously if we win, even more reason to go in. And go and go and say finally.
If it's still going on, we don't know if the deal is still going on, but
true.
Historically it has.
Keep an eye out.
When you've gone previously, it has. So yeah, keep an eye out for it. Pop in just on the off chance. And as you say, even if you do pop in and it's not running, you'll probably come across Andy Holt at somewhere around the stadium, and he's a really good guy. He's been on the platform before. Our first, I think it was, maybe been our second EFL owner. Helped put us on the map. So yeah, really good guy is Andy. But however, we have to say, don't be a lemon. If you're driving, don't go silly with the drink. Be sensible. Don't drink and drive. Get the train instead, because it's only a 20-minute drive? Walk, really from the station. It's not that far. 20 minutes really turns into 2 hours.
And there's like direct trains from Leeds. I've actually got direct train from where I live in Pudsey, which I hadn't realised. So it's going to be well quick for me. But it's like it's an easy train. Villages. Yeah, well, exactly. Out in the sticks, it's made my life a lot easier. But yeah, you're right. It's a really quick walk from the train station. Yeah. So that is what I will be doing this time with Vicky. Vicky's coming over, and I'm hopping on the train to join her at Pudsey. And then we'll, once we get there and get to the Crown, we'll jump on and come and chat with you on the pre-match show.
I love it. And I've got to say, from experience, one of the best things about going away from home is that train ride, because you're normally wherever you're coming from, whichever direction, you're normally with Town fans from the get-go. So straight away, you're with your fellow person. You're singing, you're drinking, you're having fun. It's a good day, and then you get to the station and where you're going, and then it's you all just go out together and you go to the pub, then the next one, then the next one. So a 20-minute walk turns into a 2.5 hour sort of
pub crawl.
Pub crawl, yeah, and then you arrive at the stadium. From that point on, we can't promise you a good time.
No. But if we're going to go all the way to Accrington, the least you can do is try and enjoy the day out, if nothing else. But I am hopeful we will get both sides on and off the pitch as being enjoyable. I tell you what, I was going to ask you, actually, I was planning on taking a drink for the train, as you've just suggested. I do have my away day beers tucked away from what was left over at the wedding. But I was wondering, seeing as I'm going on the train with Vicky, what could I get me and Vicky to have on the way there? Do you reckon she'd be a bit of a G&T gal? Might she like the beer? What do you reckon she'll go for?
Oh, I reckon our Vicky's a good, a pint of Ridley's Best. I reckon she's probably a beer. I don't know though. That's a good question for the comment section. Let us know when you what you feel should be she's more inclined to be drinking, a G&T, a beer.
Shall I stash a bottle of wine each for us on the way home when we're drowning our sorrows?
Bottle of wine each. Fucking hell. Most people say to share. I have a glass and I'm on the floor. Each. What can you
Only
say
if it's that bad.
Well, it shouldn't be that bad. It shouldn't be that bad.
So I'm not expecting it to be.
You got the pubs. The train would be my preferred option. Hopefully the team will come through as well. Is there anything else we need to cover for this away day guide part 1 first of the season, or is that it for the good people of Ipswich Town?
I think we've whizzed through it well. The only thing I was going to say is there is a few of us from the Talking Town crew that are going to be there. So Beep's going to be there, Matt Stannard, Anthony Steele, Ben King, my friend Martin, who also watches the show. So it's actually my friend Brett as well, who watches the show. So there's quite a few of us around. So if you are going on your own, don't feel too nervous about going. Don't feel intimidated. Come and say hello to me. I'm planning on wearing my Abbott Ale shirt. So if you see a lass in a big pink, big white puffer jacket and the Abbott Ale shirt, then you know it's me. And do just come over and say hello, because I know from experience that when I first started going to away games, I used to go on my own, and it's so much more fun and so much more making memories now that I've got a little group of people to go, and we are always happy to be welcoming more into the clan.
Absolutely. That's it. We're done. We're dusted. Amy, it's been a real pleasure. Our next one obviously will be the next away game, but hopefully here's hoping that next time we talk, we've got an away win to celebrate and another ground to be looking forward to our team winning at. But that's it for this one. Let us know, as I say, what drink Vicky should be having. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more Talking Town live. Whenever you may watch this, there'll be there'll no doubt be a show the day afterwards. There normally is. But enjoy. Amy, have a great weekend. I'll leave you with a word from us. Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single £1.20, a return only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk.